Roll call. Alderman Dunleavy.
Here.
Alderwoman Ravencraft.
Here.
Alderman Colbert.
Here.
Alderman Turner.
Here.
Alderman Keel. He's absent. Alderman Lewis.
Here.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda, August 19th, 2025 meeting minutes, please?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to special items, at this time, we're gonna have Barton West wastewater treatment project update, please.
Okay, so, thank you all for having us come tonight. We're just gonna give a quick update on construction of the wastewater treatment expansion. You can flip to the next slide real quick.
We should have a
Okay,
clicker there, hopefully it works.
there we go. So Steve will get into the details a little bit more, but just in general, all of our updates, they're posted online to Procore, and every day that we're out there working, there's a daily report that goes along with it, and there's photos as well. So if anybody wants to see what's going on or follow along, you can get into Procore there and see all that. Just in general, the project's going very well, very smooth. Everything's on schedule and going along just as it should. They poured the foundation, or the floor of the new big treatment basin. That was last week, Thursday.
21st.
Yep. And that went well. There's a ton of concrete trucks coming in and out that day, so pretty action-packed day, but everything went well, so that was good to see. And now they're working on tying the steel for the walls of that structure. And just one other thing I wanted to give a quick update on while I'm here tonight. We did have some issues with the existing blowers. This was not part of the project, but one of the existing blowers at the plant, it went down, and that's a pretty big deal because you only have 2 of them. And so the plant was running on one blower for probably about a month. And I wanted to, I don't know if Kevin's here, but I wanted to give him some kudos because the company that manufactures that blower, they originally wanted to charge the city like $40,000 to replace it, but him and the staff, they dug in really hard and got that issue figured out. And it ended up being a manufacturing issue or an installation issue. So that company owned it, and they replaced the blower for free. And they also offered an extended warranty. Their typical warranty is 1 year. They upped it to 5 years, and then they're also providing the city with a 5-year service agreement at no cost. And a lot of that was due to Kevin and his staff digging in and figuring it out. So I did want to bring that up. But I'll kick it to Steve next. Do you want to pull up the schedule first? Or?
Oh, we sure can.
Okay, there's another attachment in there. And if not, that's fine. We can just kind of speak to it.
As far as the construction schedule, at this time, we are on schedule, and we are under budget. We have, at this time, we've lost 6 days due to rain events, but we are gonna put on another 6-man crew, and we think we can make that time up. So at this time, we feel like we still are on schedule. At this time, our main focus is on the Aeromod structure. We poured the base on August 21st. It was about 1,110 cubic yards. We started at 3 o'clock in the morning and ended up at 4 o'clock p.m. finishing. So it was all one pour, no construction. So, that's about as good as you can get. The next thing that we'll be working on tomorrow, the electrician will be on site. We're going to relocate some electrical duct banks where the new control building is going to be placed. And we're also going to do a relocation of some electrical duct banks that are in the way of a BIOP structure that we have to put in. So that'll be moved out of the way in order for us to move in and put those structures in. So that's our next focus. The only other item would be sludge removal. We're going to remove the sludge in the existing EQ basin. The last week of September.
We can probably flip back to the slides, we got some pictures and stuff too.
This is our procurement schedule for equipment. This lists all the dates of delivery for the equipments that most of the major equipment that we have. Everything as far as delivery dates is really working out well, especially the generators and transfer switch, in order to get everything changed over before we put the plant and close to operation. So all those dates are good. This is an overall shot of the plant when we first started. The site's been cleared. Those machines there are pile drivers. We drove in H-piling, and basically you'll see in pictures down the line, it's really a safe excavation. It's hard to see there, but the piles have been driven. The whaler boards are up top, and on the bottom, that's shotcrete concrete, reinforced. So this excavation is very safe. We're not looking to have any issues here with any kind of problem with the excavation safety. There's an overall, again, site view. The top is fenced off with cable.
And this is when they were down all the way, right?
That's when we were down to subgrade, yes, before we started tying reinforcing into the base. Here's a shot. The forming's almost complete around the perimeter of the floor of the aeromod structure. The 2 mats of steel are tied into the bottom, and then all the uprights in this picture have been tied for the walls. That's a pretty good shot.
And we don't have to see this, but there's just a video there of the concrete actually going in for the floor. And we've been trying to go out about every other week or so and have the drone fly over and just take progress pictures. And I think those are really helpful to have as the project's going on, because it's so much easier to see updates, I guess, from the sky. So.
And those videos will be on Procore. We still have some to upload, but you can go on Procore and see the videos also. They kind of give you an overall picture. On this project, we've been holding bi-weekly project update meetings. Operators from the wastewater treatment plant, city personnel, all subcontractors are in these meetings. It helps us coordinate everything, be proactive if there's any issues. Communication, we feel like, is the main goal. Keep everybody in communication with each other. Those have been going well. Submittal process at this time, the majority of the submittals have been reviewed through engineering and approved. We've got a couple out, which we still have a little bit of design for SCADA. So we'll have those done here shortly. Site security, the site is fenced, the city's fenced. We do have signage up to keep unauthorized personnel out, and we do have video surveillance of the site. So that keeps our personnel and all of our equipment safe. Site safety, it's really our major priority on this project. Our superintendent is versed in safety, and there's a safety inspection every day of the project to make sure that all the workers and the site is safe, safety requirements. And I think that's all that I have.
Does anybody have any comments or questions or anything for us while we're here?
All right, thanks, guys.
All right,
Appreciate it.
good deal. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Moving on to appointments to boards and commissions. At this time, we have none. Scheduled public comments, we have none. Just a reminder that public comments need to be into the city clerk by Wednesday before the meeting date. And then we're moving on to public hearing. Proposal sewer rates. At this time, I'll open up to Matt Stoffel. Make his presentation.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I was here in March, talking about how we're gonna pay for this project, and so at that time, we presented, the sewer rate study, revenue sufficiency study. And then, since then, we've been going through the plan of finance, and part of that is the due diligence process, and so, during the due diligence process, we learned that there's some tweaks to the rate structure that might benefit both the users and the investors, and so that's essentially what I'm presenting here tonight. So overall, the rate increases or the revenue increases the city needs to see is still in tune to that 23% per year. Is this not advancing?
It might not, since you sent me a PDF, so I'll just have to.
Sorry, yep. All right, so if you go to the next slide. Really, the biggest change is to try and lock in the fixed rate increases to be closer to 5% per year, so that fixed base fee doesn't change by more than really a nominal inflation type figure. And then the rest of the rate increases come through the variable rate. And this allows for users of the system that if they want to reduce their usage of the system, they can reduce their sewer bill by doing that. The other thing it does is it's considered a conservation-oriented rate structure, so it will preserve the capacity that you're building for longer. If people use the system less, then you can have more users, spread those costs over larger users. So overall, that's kind of the executive summary of the rate changes. It doesn't change the amount of revenue we're targeting per se. I do still anticipate, depending on how the financing comes in, which we'll know here in about a week. So assuming tonight goes according to plan, the city approves the ordinance, the city approves the official statement, we will print the official statement tomorrow. The investment bank will go out and start soliciting market feedback about the investment in these bonds. And then we will open up an order period a week from Wednesday, and then we will finalize the pricing. So we had built a plan of finance assuming a 7% interest rate. We did go out and get a rating on these bonds, and so S&P rated the bonds an A-, which was better than we had anticipated. And so now we're looking at maybe a 5.5% interest rate, but still that has to be finalized and determined, which will happen next week. So the thought would be we stick to the rate increases for 26 and 27, and then potentially the reduction would come in 28 after we've seen how have users of the system reacted to the rate changes, how many gallons are you building per year, and as we continue to monitor that. So I provided this slide back in March. This is an updated slide. As you can see, really it's users below the 4,000 gallons, and then users with a large meter size that don't use as many gallons. Those are the big customers that are benefiting from this change in the rate structure. So I would anticipate somewhere between 64 and 75% of users will see a decrease in their bill as a result of this rate structure. So that should be welcomed by the majority of users. The bigger users that are using the system more are going to pick up that cost because we're still solving for the same amount of revenues. This slide here is similar. It just isolates the percent increase and then the dollar increase at those various meter sizes and consumption levels. So these slides you would have seen in March. These are just updates based on this new rate structure. And then the sewer performa, let me stop there. Any questions about the changes related to that?
The majority of single-family homes would have a 5/8 inch.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So do we know what the average household consumption is in Ashland?
The performa, I think, is when Matt will get into at least the averages that he's using for his model.
But essentially, these bigger businesses that are using more water will incur the cost compared to everyday homes.
That's correct, yep. Yeah, with the idea that if they can reduce consumption, they can save on their bill, which then preserves capacity of the plant to add more. But yeah, those that are using the system more will see the bigger increase.
Who's an example of someone that uses a lot of water right now?
He's got a list in here, so
Yeah.
here's your top 10
This
users.
there's a larger user list there. You know, the school districts have multiple meters, but is that the trailer park?
Yeah, top one's a trailer park.
And then a lot of the multifamily complexes, you know, the restaurants, Taco Bell, McDonald's. So, and this information is really unchanged from what we presented in March, but it provides a lot of that backup. So this performa is updated, you know, based on the A- rating for the sewer bonds. You know, we were previously anticipating an overall debt payment of about $225,000. Now it's coming in closer to $200,000. We are structuring the debt around the existing sewer debt that's there. We did keep the 30-year term. We added an debt service reserve fund, which means that you're gonna borrow an additional about $2.5 million. You're gonna set that aside, you'll earn interest on there, but it serves as a backstop for if some reason the city doesn't have the money to pay the debt payment in that year, then the bondholders can use that to get paid. Provides a little bit of additional liquidity, and we added that really to help with the rating, to try to get that rating, because every basis point that you have on your interest rate is worth about $30,000. And so it just made economic sense to add that. But overall, you know, we've structured the, you know, the rates to generate the revenues that we need for the system. And the intention is to really ramp up over 3 years. And then in that third year, back off where we can once we see how the budget numbers are coming in. You know, the project is under a guaranteed maximum price, so to the extent they don't spend all of that money, any leftover that you did borrow will go into the debt service fund to help pay those bonds that you won't necessarily need for rates. And so all of that will factor into what we do with rates in the future. So that's really the high level. You know, everything else in sections 3 and 4 were, you know, just straight out of the presentation in March. It was really just number 1 and number 2 that we updated as a result of the due diligence process and the public finance. So happy to answer any questions. And Kyle, I don't know if you want me to speak to any other parts of the financing process. Or wait.
Probably just save that for that way we can get through the public hearing.
This bond issue that failed last year, what would we be looking at if it would have passed? Like how's these numbers different to where if we would have passed the bond issue?
Yeah, if you would have passed the bond issue, you would have probably been borrowing through the state revolving fund or the SRF loan, and so probably 2 to 3% interest. So you're really talking about, you know, double the interest rate. And so in terms of rates, you would probably still have 40 to 50% increase. It'd be nothing, but it would be lower. And I think we had run those numbers ahead of the bond referendum to kind of share that.
Our wastewater treatment plant, it was at max capacity as of last year, right? 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So we had to do something no matter what. It was just whether or not we were gonna get it at 2% interest or 7.5% interest.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
And the price would have been even higher if we had waited for DNR to come in and basically start fining, that type of thing, when we were at that max. That was another issue too.
We would have faced fines certainly if we would have had continued permit violations, yes.
Any other questions, Matt? All right, this time we're going to go back to public comments. If there's any public comments, please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Casey Shutterly, 15235 Everglades Drive, Ashland. I have some concerns. I moved here from Columbia about 3 years ago, built a house in Forest Park. I wanted to get away from Columbia, from the piss poor government that's ran there. That's what we're getting here. My rates have already gone up tremendously. I have me, my wife, 2 little girls. One's 2 and the other one, or one's 3, one's 2. I just looked, 4,288 gallons of water last month. With that chart that you just showed, in 3 years, or in 4 years, my bill's gonna go up 300%. You tell me how that's right. You aldermen have a vote coming up in about an hour for the citizens of this town. Is Ashland growing? Yes, people wanna come here. You keep doing stuff like this, people are not gonna wanna come here. There already aren't enough businesses here. You wanna charge the businesses out the rear to come here and pay their utilities? They're not gonna come here. We're gonna go to Columbia, we're gonna go to Jeff City, and I'm gonna sell my house and I'm gonna go to Callaway County. This is ridiculous. Our tax rate is through the roof here. I don't mind paying taxes if I have something. I take my little girls to the city park. They go down the slide. It's this high of a drop off for a 2-year-old girl. The slides are cracked, they get pinched. Where's our tax dollars going? You guys have an obligation to run this city well, and it's not being run well. I don't know if that's Mr. Michael's issue, if that's the alderman's issue, or the mayor's issue, but it's bad. It's horrible. I wish there was more people here to say something. I have a real good job. I mean, I work at the university. I make triple digits for income. I feel really sorry for the single mom with 4 kids who have to use 4,000 or 5,000 gallons of water, and she's gonna be charged more than a mom and dad with a baby that only uses 3,500 gallons of water. How is that right? It's not. And I wouldn't go build a house without having my financing all there. I understand Kehoe backed out of a $11 million or whatever bond or grant, whatever. The financing should have been all there before this project started. Now we're in a hole. It's your guys' job to get us out without having us pay out the yin yang for it. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Go ahead and close it.
You can announce it closed if there's no more comments.
So at this time, we'll close public comments. Going on to the first introductions and first readings, Council Bill number 2025-30, an ordinance authorizing the instance of a not to exceed $28 million principal amount of special obligation bonds wastewater treatment project. Series 2025, Ashland, Missouri, authorizing certain other documents and actions by the board.
You taking the brunt on this, David?
Yeah, if you'd like me to make a presentation of the ordinance, I can.
Great, let me switch this back to our other screen.
My name is David Martin. I'm with the law firm of Gilmore and Bell in Kansas City. I've been serving as bond counsel to the city for a number of years, including with respect to the financing of this building, and have been working with the transaction team on the issuance and preparation of offering documents for a series of special obligation bonds, which is included in the ordinances before you now. This type of bond issuance does not require an election, but it does have a lower level of security for the bondholder than other types of bond issuances. So a general obligation bond or a facilities revenue bond from the election that was mentioned earlier would have a higher credit rating and thus a lower interest rate than this type of financing. So the ordinance is before you tonight is a parameters ordinance. What that does is it authorizes staff to move forward with the issuance of the bonds if it fits certain criteria. Criteria are laid out in Article 2 on page 5 on the main ordinance document. And they are that the principal amount of the bonds won't exceed $28 million. The final maturity or the final payment won't be later than 2056. The bonds will have a weighted average maturity of not less than 20 or more than 25 years. That's a method of limiting how far out the principal is placed in the financing, so you don't have too much principal accruing at the end of the transaction and loading up interest on the front end. The true interest cost, which is kind of an all-in financing cost calculation, cannot exceed 7%, must be subject to prepayment or what we call optional redemption no later than 2035, and then a limitation on underwriter's discount of 0.75%. As Matt will tell you, several of these terms, especially principal amount, final maturity, I think they've got pretty much locked in for 2056. But WAM and the true interest cost are things that will be adjusted as they go out to price. So we've set the maximums that are acceptable, but it's assumed that the will be less than those stated. This document also authorizes a series of other documents which made up quite a bit of the bulk of the packet for tonight's meeting. So there's a preliminary official statement, which is the offering document that goes out to potential investors to explain the credit, a little bit about the city, and the expected source of payment. There's also a bond purchase agreement that is the agreement between the city and the underwriter, where the city says we will sell you this bond issuance all at once with all the maturities included, and you're going to in turn find the investors and place the individual bonds with investors. And there's a federal tax certificate and a continuing disclosure certificate involved with this, as it is a publicly marketed tax exempt financing. The continuing disclosure certificate requires annual disclosure of certain items through a website called Emma that informs the general marketplace of ongoing conditions within the city. And the federal tax certificate sets out some guidelines for use and expenditures of funds, basically requiring that they be used in a governmental capacity and placing certain restrictions on investment. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Perhaps whether you or Matt touch on next steps after approval of this ordinance tonight, what that looks like for action of the city over the next couple of weeks, since we're going to be moving pretty quick in September is the goal.
Sure, Matt, want to do that, or?
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it earlier, but process would be if everything passes tonight, then we would print the OS tomorrow, which means that it's kind of approved to go out and use to market. And then D. Davidson is the investment bank. They would take that document, they would shop these bonds around, try to create a market. Once they had enough demand identified, then we would lock in the pricing on September 10th. We would take the pricing from September 10th, we would provide that, and then you would do an authorizing resolution at the upcoming meeting, or is it?
So this is the authorization.
This is the authorization.
If it's within the parameters, then we will be able to move forward with the bond purchase agreement on that date.
Okay, and then this document authorizes then Kyle to sign that on behalf of the city within these parameters. And like I said, I'm anticipating 5.5% interest rate, but we did set that cap at 7 in the event that something happens in the market. The city is incurring cost right now, so there is a need to get this money in the bank so that you can use to pay those bills. And so once we lock in the pricing on September 10th, the closing date is set for September 30th. And so then all of the documents get reviewed by bond counsel, and then the bank's attorneys. And then on September 30th would be the date that the city would receive the proceeds from the bonds, essentially. The next steps. So tonight is the big night of action and authorization.
I'll be honest, I'm still really struggling with this rate increase myself, so personally. I mean, I understand, like, obviously we need to upgrade this infrastructure. I think it's hard at being on the board here where we didn't get to decide anything previously, any decisions made, several years ago about this plant that maybe could have prevented what we're facing now. I also know that there were public hearings, and I think that we all can agree that a lot of those are poorly attended, but I do wonder if the citizens knew what type of increase this would cause, more people would have shown up. Because I probably would have shown up had I known, if I wasn't on the board and knew the impact of this, or even when we voted on it, I think we would have had a better turnout. Had we been able to show them, well, this is what it is, and this is what it's gonna be if you guys don't vote. I mean, and I did express that I was frustrated or concerned about this in March when it was presented, so, but it's a significant increase.
So again, the rates that are in effect as of right this second, $34 a month for your fixed rate, and the proposal is to lower that to 30 on the 5/8 meter. And the variable rate is where you see those numbers going up slightly. So I think the intent that Matt has proposed here is more or less net neutral. Obviously, we're dealing with averages across 2,000 plus customers that use a varying degree, but the intent is not necessarily an increase tonight. We're simply shifting more of the burden from that fixed rate that the customer has no control over to that variable rate, where if there is a desire to be a little more conservative with your consumption, you do have the opportunity and an avenue to drive your bill down on a monthly basis. As Matt kind of mentioned, we're more or less locked on these first few years of increases, but there is opportunity as we move forward for those rates or those rate increases to not be as substantial. One thing that has come to light, or at least progressed a little further over the last few months, is, I know it was previously discussed, but a desire by the regional airport to connect to our system. So I mean, that's a substantial amount of flow on a monthly and annual basis that isn't considered as part of our rate analysis, and obviously that'll have a substantial impact from a consumption perspective and a whole different revenue stream that obviously plays an impact on what these rates need to do in the future. And that's not to say that we are not sitting here in January through March when we're doing budget workshops and looking at the rate increase proposal for the next fiscal year, and lowering or raising that even different from what's being proposed here. Really all we can do is monitor that consumption data and allow Matt to crunch numbers as best he can. And
So you're saying the original plan was on 5/8?
this is what's in effect right now, the 34.
Yes.
Yeah. So the proposal is to, on October 1st, dial that down to 30 on the fixed. And then you can see how that extrapolates going into the future.
Correct. And then like
The original plan was, to put the lion's share of that on that fixed rate, which the customer has no control over that. That's just a guaranteed bill that you're paying every month regardless of how much you're using. So as Matt kind of alluded to, you're going to see, especially for those low consumers, they'll see a substantial cost saving. Let me go back to Matt's other. So that gives you a better idea of what that could look like. And this is before, this is actually the old rate structure, so the 34 fixed in there. Let's see, where's the...
It's not the 34 fixed, it's the
Oh, wait, that's
500
the,
500
yeah,
gallons.
that's the consumption, sorry.
It's got the insane.
I don't think I have your big one pager pulled up here. Did you give each one of them a copy of that, or?
No, I didn't. This is just a comparison to what we, like, what you adopted in May versus what is today, and the difference between the two. This is kind of hard to read, which is part of the reason I didn't hand it out originally, but, so the left-hand side is just the, essentially those tables, but all stacked on top of each other. And then the recommendation for March of 2025 and the difference between the various sizes. So you can see the fixed charges all went down, the variable charges all went up. And then, so anybody using less than 4,000 gallons should see a reduction compared to what they're seeing today. And then it's those users above the 4,000 to 5,000 gallons will pick up that increase essentially, because I'm solving for the same amount of dollars that we were solving for in March. And we won't change that until we lock in the price and the financing. And like I said, we're phasing this in over 3 years, and so that it's that third year where I would anticipate those rates coming back down once we see how behavior changes over time. Because we essentially need to generate about $3 million to cover the operational cost of the system plus the debt service.
So you're saying in 2026, a person had 5/8 meter, had 7,500 gallons of water, their water bill would go up $27.85.
No, I'm saying it would go up $4.85. 7,500 or 75,000?
Okay, that's a dollar increase, okay.
Yeah, that's the dollar increase per month. And a user using 4,000 gallons, it should go down to $1.28.
I know I'm getting a water bill soon. They quit taking pads.
I'm honestly surprised that it's not a lot higher for most consumers. I'm the old guy on here, and I can say that I was on the board when the first one was built, and at that time, we knew it wasn't gonna be big enough. We knew the growth was going to happen, and it was just inevitable. I agree with you that it's unfortunate that more people weren't coming to our meetings when we first started talking about the last bond issue that failed, and it could have been a lot cheaper. But knowing that this had to happen, just because that bond issue failed doesn't mean we couldn't stop the planning. It's something that's got to be done. Yeah, people are going to complain about some modest increases, but what kind of complaining would happen if when you flush the toilet, it doesn't go down?
I mean, in some ways that frustrates me a little bit more, knowing that, when it was done, we knew that this problem was coming our way. But, I think the gentleman who spoke before, Mr. Casey, he does have a good point about businesses. Their increases are significant. And, if I was looking to open a business, this could potentially impact the success of a new business here.
But how do these rates compare to other cities?
That I don't know.
Are they,
Well, so I was just looking it up. It seems like we're already higher than a lot of other cities. The national average according to Google, about $40 a month in water bills. And we're talking about, we're already, slightly above that, and we're gonna over double it in the next 3 years here.
At 40 for just water though, is what you, and we're talking strictly just the sewer, not the water side of things here. And I don't know what the national average is. Just make sure we're looking at potentially correct information.
So considering we've already started construction, and I know that there are drawouts being requested, I'm sure, if this does not pass, like,
Call a special meeting this week and demobilize it. That's your option.
What'd you say?
If there's a desire from the board to not approve the authority to move forward with a bond sale, then we have to stop the project. That's the situation that we're in.
And then what if it doesn't pass and we demobilize? And then
We sit here and wait until DNR starts.
start, that's what I was saying, DNR will start finding us and then we'll have to pay that.
Correct.
But all this could have been remedied. How many years has it been in our ordinance to raise our rate for 3%? And how many years have we ever done it? Never.
Yeah.
So all this could have been,
I mean, it could have been better planned for, but
Yes.
that's, you'll never get away from that, but it can always be better planned for.
So, I mean, can we do a partial bond issue now and go back to the voters for, another option come April?
So the cost savings that came with that initial bond measure was to finance the project through the SRF. That option is off the table. So when you move away from SRF, that's a design bid build process versus design build. It's a whole different regulatory process. I mean, I'll allow Bart West if they want to chime in on the differences between those two processes, but we're still constantly evaluating options to potentially refinance in the future or do something different. But if there's a thought that it's going to save money to try and up the brakes or slow or pivot or do a partial now, that's not realistic. Especially if we're looking at a second bond sale at some point in the future, there's costs associated with that to do another issuance, so.
and then how does the banks look at us as a business if we pump the brakes on and then we try to go back at it again? Do they say, oh, you guys are undecisive?
Without these rate increases, you can't borrow this money. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. I mean, the banks won't borrow you the money without the rates in place. And so,
To your point, perhaps in the future, should the governor grant money or some other budget allocation arrive from the state, we can always prepay and stave off future rate increases. But in terms of trying to borrow money in a different capacity to save money, that's not an option.
So I guess my other question is too, if we're anticipating the lesser, we got a better grading, so we're gonna have less interest, why are we still continuing with similar, rate increases? And I know you say in 2028 it'll slow down, but why so front loaded if we're gonna save that money?
yeah, I mean, we are ramping it up over 3 years, so the debt service moves, a little slowly up because we're anticipating potentially lower usage, right? As you increase rates, you typically see people use less. That wears off over time, and then people kind of divert to their normal usage. But we won't know the true cost of the interest and the true cost of the bond issue until we price these bonds, which is, potentially next week. And so it's too early to definitively lock anything in. We'll have to continuously monitor this every budget season. But I would say it's too early to pull back on the plan of finance. I mean, we're only paying $65,000 worth of principal in year one out of $26 million. So there's not much we can reduce year one by in the plan of finance. So
we can live with that. These are maybe rates.
Correct.
These are the rates subject to change, like future years subject to change. Every year we'll come back during the budget cycle to reevaluate those proposed increases for future fiscal cycles. But these are the rates for October 1st effective date, unless Matt comes back and says interest came in surprisingly low and we can, but he's not going to do that. I'm not going to suggest that.
And we've implemented the 3% increase going forward, correct? Is that included in this, or is that gonna be on top of this?
He's cooking our annual increase. What we do for financing of this project on an annual basis is what we're gonna do. There's nothing else that's going to be put on top of that.
This is included with that.
Yeah, basically.
This is a multi-year rate increase that puts a plan and finance in place to be able to pay the bonds back, essentially. We're not targeting any more money or any less money than we need. We're just targeting what we need to pay the bonds back.
Matt, let me ask you, I got 3 neighbors sitting here tonight. You're sitting in my shoes right now. We all 3 of us have kids here. You know, we're battling rising cost of everything. How would you vote on this situation? Because I'm sitting here wondering, you know, some of the families in my subdivision, how are they gonna pay these rate increases? Because you said it was a $4.85 difference. Well, that's true based off these March recommendations, but you know, the public's not looking at their March recommendations, they're looking at their month over month
Yeah.
bill.
Year over year, yep.
So what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, do you want Ashland to grow? Right, because you can't add more businesses, you can't add more houses, you can't even really serve the people that you have today without an expansion to your sewer. So this is a 50, 100-year type decision for Ashland. It's not a, you know, like, and I have 4 kids, I totally understand how, like, the pressures of raising a family. But the question is bigger than just, can we pay our sewer? But this is what you have to do in order to expand your sewer from, you know, 600,000 gallons a day to 1.6 million. But this is about, what do you want Ashland to look like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now? You know, and I can't make that decision. That's what you're elected to do. My job is to tell you how to structure, help you figure out how to structure the rates so that you can pay it back, so that it's fair and equitable. And I think this rate structure is fair and equitable. Based on what Ashland needs, this will deliver the funds to build the sewer plant. But it's not up to me to decide what do you want Ashland to look like for the next 10 to 15 to 20 years.
I think half the town wants us not to grow another house, half the town wants to continue to grow.
Welcome to every town in America, every growing town in America.
So if we vote yes on this and we vote our rates are gonna go up, is our addresses public knowledge? 'Cause I got a feeling I'm gonna get egged.
You know it is.
We'll all get a, we'll be all over Facebook.
You know, I think I might delete Facebook.
Well, I've already deactivated mine.
But I make a joke of it, but it is a serious matter. I mean, it's everyday dollars. It's families that are pinching pennies right now, so.
And other things aren't going up, your salary's not going up, your income's not going up.
I farm, it's always going down.
Oh, yeah, you farm, it's really going down.
But when you compare this to, like, the price of your phone, you know, how many people are paying over $300 a month on all of their phones? You know, when you look at, I was just complaining about my cable bill, which is over $200 a month, you know. So, you know, yes, it's high, but I think it's something that we have to do. We won't get additional businesses if we don't have growth. We won't have growth if we don't have an adequate sewer system. The additional population is what brings the businesses. Unfortunately, you know, we do have the, but not in my neighborhood mentality a lot of times. So, yeah, I want it to grow somewhere else, but I don't want it to grow to where it inconveniences me.
You have any experience with other cities, like, you're talking about bringing businesses in, how many businesses are gonna go from a $224 projected monthly bill to $1,100 and still come?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in the line of work where I show up to a lot of city council meetings and tell communities that if you're gonna do $50 million worth of infrastructure, or $20 million worth of infrastructure, here's what you have to do in order to pay for it. So I have these meetings on a regular. You know, I've got a community right now that's struggling exactly with the same thing that you are, they've got 4 25% rate increases in their sewer over the next 4 years. And the council's having a really hard time with it. Sewer's not getting any cheaper. You know, so I do a lot of double-digit rate increases because a lot of times I think of it like a pendulum. You get behind, and then it costs you to get caught back up. And it swings from one area to the next. And the most expensive sewer bills you're gonna have are right after you do the expansion before you grow into it. Because you got all the debt and you don't have any of those customers that are coming in the future. And so as you get to your capacity, like you're at your low point now where you're at capacity, you got all the sewer customers. And so you're swinging from one side of the spectrum to the other. And then it slowly you'll get caught back up. Other communities will pass you, and then you'll have your next expansion. You know, and unfortunately, that's kind of how public utilities work, unless you stay very, very far in front of it.
In the short term, would adding a large organization, for instance, the airport or something like that, would that help or hurt the overall rates?
If you can serve them, I mean, once you have capacity.
Once we have it,
you wanna sell that
and they want it.
capacity. You want more users of the system, the more gallons you build, the cheaper it costs per thousand. All of, you know, this $2 million of debt service is all fixed. So when you're spreading it amongst a smaller amount of volume, it's more expensive per gallon, per 1,000 gallons. And then as you spread it across more gallons, it gets cheaper per thousand. It's kind of just how it works. So you want to sell that capacity once you have the capacity to sell.
How long will we be looking at timeframe for the airport to get everything they tie into?
The airport's desire is to be connected within 3 years. Now, that's the airport's desire, that's not necessarily City of Columbia's desire. Hopefully that desire matches up. You know, our goal would be, it's been in the talk for a long time, like the airport's wanted to connect even back to the point of before the plant was built down there originally. So it's been a long-range goal of theirs, but obviously now with the increased capacity coming, it's more of a reality. We have infrastructure adjacent to their infrastructure, so the connection would not be overly cumbersome. It's just a matter of aligning political agendas with the airport and the City of Columbia to make that happen at some point in the near future.
With the planning of the original structure, we had the Cartwright property, we had the Baptist property, and we also had the airport in discussions. At the last minute, the airport backed out.
And basically Cartwright didn't develop anything. Cartwright didn't really develop anything into 2 buildings.
Right. But they did pay a chunk of money to get that whole system up there.
All right. Any further questions?
So, one real quick, so I'm looking at the increases, is it possible, so suppose we adopt, say, years 26 and 27 rate increases, would that be enough for the bonds to issue, or we have to have the long-term
29 is.
the minimum?
Well, 28, so in your ordinance, it's 26, 27, 28. 29, we have I think a 1% increase on the variable side. But it's really 26, 27, 28, kind of that 3-year ramp up phase that we designed. So that's what we have in the ordinance. I show 29 here to just show that it levels off a little bit, and this doesn't continue, but 29 is not currently in your ordinance or in the rates that you're approving.
So, and that's a good question to ask, because you see a lot of folks online that suggest that we just, and it's happened, we've had this conversation at this table, charge future development more to connect, and that's, you all know, you've borrowed money, you can't borrow money if you can't prove the revenue stream, so that's what's being proposed tonight, is adopt the rate structure that shows the revenue stream exists. That doesn't mean that revenue stream can't change in the future, and that's not to say that Matt is not going to be immediately tasked with looking at our connection fee structure and making sure that is equitable and fair as well, but you can't pledge speculative or non-existent revenue streams, and future development is a non-existent development or revenue stream. There's nothing to say that that will come to fruition or not. So in terms of borrowing money, we can't show that to a bank and say, here it is, it's coming, we can sell it to you.
So I will say, like, I mentioned the average bill earlier, and I pulled up the St. Louis City and St. Louis County, because they're the easiest to find in the state. So right now, their monthly charge in the city is about $28 base monthly fee, and then about $9 per 1,000 gallons. Then the county is about $33 a month, and then about $12 per 1,000 gallons. So that's why I'm asking the question about 27, because that seems like where we level off with, other cities, I guess, in the state of Missouri, looking at like what's publicly available. That's about where they are. But then it seems like we jump, ahead of them. And I don't know what their rate increase schedule is, of course, but just thinking through that.
Does that include sewer?
Well, that's just the sewer, like
That's just the sewer.
yeah, that's the sewer piece, which my understanding is that's this, right, too, is this is the sewer piece also.
Trying to dig up from previous conversations we've had, general data around us, what those rates look like.
Yeah, I would like to know that. I think that would be helpful information. Like, for instance, the gentleman mentioned Callaway County, what does somebody in the county pay in Callaway, for instance?
66,000 gallons in Callaway County this month. My bill was $392.
Just on water, though.
That's just water. I'll see it. 67,000 gallons. It's down 20,000 gallons from last month.
It's pretty good. Pay that bill.
Sprayers are 6 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, probably won't immediately find it, but that also was something that was pushed out as part of the bond education back in '24. I don't have it immediately available to show you.
Let me see if I can find the full data.
Columbia should be easy to find because they just had a rate hearing 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they had a rate increase.
Here we go. Utility rates, I gotta get to it, but. This is just water, isn't it? Here we go. So we're at base monthly charge of $12.37. I can't find their per 1,000 gallon schedule.
So they're basically higher.
No, their base is about a third of what ours would be.
Darla, what do you think?
No thoughts.
No comment, right? All right. Are you gonna find that or?
Yeah, let me see here. I think I found it.
guys getting tired of standing up there yet?
I don't know if you're supposed to stay standing or if you should sit down.
No, you're welcome to probably sit down, I imagine, unless.
It's gonna take 1 minute.
So this is just our bond flyer from 24. So we didn't calculate that based on any volume, we just assumed 1,000 gallons. This is what the minimum would look like at the time. So the proposal at 1,000 gallons is $38.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the per thousand, we're gonna be higher than every single one of these substantially by 28.
Again, these are data from 2023, 2024, so I would assume a lot of these rates have gone up.
What's the total cost of this project, Kyle?
28 million?
28 million?
We're borrowing 28, as Matt kind of alluded to, you'll have a reserve fund.
2 million.
The project's right over 25 million.
How much money have we spent so far?
What's the most recent draw, Steve, you know off the top of your head?
1.2 million, I believe.
That's the third one of those we paid, or one of those we paid.
So like 6 mil, close to 6 million? So we're either the board that jacks everybody's water rates up, or we're the board that sinks $6 million.
You're also the board that issues a stop work on every project in town. We don't issue another building permit, ever.
And,
I'm just putting it out here for everybody to hear what we're deciding on.
and taking the chance of DNR assessments.
Oh, I love the DNR folks.
I don't,
You don't?
no. They will show up and take control of your water system and your sewer system, and it's no fun at all. They do that.
I spray pesticides for a living. I don't worry about DNR.
Alright,
And stopping and starting the project again in 5 years will probably, what, double the
The cost
cost?
doesn't go down.
Yeah.
We know that.
What's in 2028?
The cost of construction does not go down.
gentlemen. Can I get a motion to approve, deny,
Move to approve.
Council Bill number 2025-30? I got one motion to approve.
Ask for a second.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call. Alderman Dunwoody?
Aye.
Alderwoman Rangecraft?
Aye.
Alderman Covert?
Nay.
Alderman Turner?
Nay.
Alderman Bill?
Nay.
Alderman Lewis?
Aye.
3 to 3, it's tie. For you, Mayor.
Well, knowing the history of this project and knowing the future of this project and knowing that what will happen if we don't do this project, I'm gonna say yes.
3 to 3, the mayor voting yes, the bill passes.
Moving on, Council Bill number 2025-31, an ordinance to amend Chapter 14, sewer, water, and solid waste treatment.
So even though we kind of circled around, this is the rate ordinance that we're just talking about, so. Reducing those fixed, increasing the variable on that rate schedule to support the bond sale.
Can I get a motion approving Council Bill number 2025-31, an ordinance to amend Chapter 14, sewer, water, and solid waste?
So moved.
I have a second.
I'll second.
Alderman Lewis,
Aye.
Alderman Bill,
Nay.
Alderman Turner,
Nay.
Alderman Colbert,
Nay.
Alderman Ravencraft.
Aye.
Alderman Dunleavy.
Aye.
Again, knowing the history, the future, and what the outcome will come if you don't do this, I'm gonna say yes.
Don't pass.
Moving on to old business, ordinance number 1527, ordinance authorizing the insurance of not to exceed 28 million principal amount of special obligation bond for the 2025 wastewater treatment. Staff report, same as the first report. Can I
Any
get a
further
motion?
discussion desired?
Yeah, let's rehash it all. Can I get a motion approving ordinance number 1527, an ordinance authorizing the insurance not to exceed over 28 million principal amount for special bond?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Alderman Dunwoody,
Aye.
Alderman Ravencraft,
Aye.
Alderman Colbert,
Nay.
Alderman Turner,
Nay.
Alderman Bill,
Nay.
Alderman Lewis.
Aye.
Again, same spiel, we gotta do it, guys. So yes. Ordinance number 1528, ordinance authorizing amendment chapter 14. Can I get a motion to approve ordinance number 1528?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Alderman Lewis,
Aye.
Alderman Bill,
Nay.
Alderman Turner,
Nay.
Colbert,
Nay.
Alderman Raycraft,
Aye.
and Alderman Dunwoody.
Aye.
And I vote to break the tie with a yes. Moving on to new business, resolution number 2025-49, a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus property, wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you, Mayor and board members. This is the third and final episode of Public Works yard sale. This material, this time is from the water treatment plant. It was made obsolete in 2018 from the original treatment plant. Prior to that, it was lagoon treatment equipment. You can see in your packet. It's basically a lot of 8-inch piping, keys and flanges. The big items on the end were blowers and air compressors that were part of the original lagoon system prior to 2018. We reached out to Boone County Sewer District to see if they had any interest in these because they have so many facilities, they are not. So all these items, we want to again scrap them and make room. Review. Any questions?
Any chance you can get about 28 million for it?
See what I can do.
I've heard you may do wonders.
Can I get a motion to approve resolution number 2025-49, resolution authorizing the sale of surplus property equipment?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to reports. It's quite simple and easy tonight. Tonight's decision was very tough, but we had to do it. I mean, it's plain and simple. We've been fighting this battle for years, and if we did not do what we did tonight, we'd be fighting the battle going forward. We will be losing businesses, losing their homes. DNR will come in, take over a water treatment plant. So it was a tough decision to do, but I feel it was the right decision. So that's my report. City Administrator, please.
As a reminder, we had our GRE presentation on the streets master plan last meeting. If you have comments or feedback, please roll that up to me so I can pass that along to the consultant. Friday was the closing bid date, or I guess proposal date for the Parks project, the master planning project to start phase 1 engineering. We had 5 firms submit qualifications, so we'll begin to score and review those with hopes in probably October to have action out of the park board to propose an engineering contract to the Board of Aldermen for approval, so we can continue to move forward with that improvement project. That's all I have.
City Attorney's report.
Three things. I would echo the mayor's comments. These are very difficult decisions to make. We have lots of committees in our firm that struggle with them, as well they should. But the boards that are strong and can make a positive decision are the ones that can look back and have a city growth. Those that don't have DNR running their water rates at, way worse than what you're looking at. So I appreciate the difficulty. My colleagues have completed their review of the Ashland City Code. I need to compile that into a quick report. I will do that by the end of the week, but the grunt work of reviewing the 800 pages has been accomplished. Thirdly, an odd law got passed at the end of the month. It's now effective. The General Assembly has allowed bars to open and operate 24/7 during the World Cup. It's a period of about 6 weeks. They don't have to do anything. They're automatically entitled to do that. If the city wants to opt out of that, they can pass an ordinance to restrict it. This is not anything that needs to happen anytime soon, but I bring it to your attention that if the Ashland City doesn't do anything, the bars in town can operate around the clock from June 11th through July, whatever it is, to accommodate the soccer games.
What if we don't have any bars? We only have restaurants that serve alcohol.
If you get a by the drink license is specifically what this allows. So you can get margaritas at 4 in the morning, I suppose. That's my report.
If you have an opinion on that, please send me and Doris an email so we can evaluate the need to put anything on a future agenda.
I will say, my clients that are not in the Kansas City area, it's a may do. I mean, if you were a bar wanted to do it, you'd have to staff it, you'd have to get insurance, you'd have to do all sorts of things to make that actually work.
Yeah, I don't think Woody's is gonna be, open 24/7.
Jose's either.
Thanks.
Thanks, sir. Moving on to Public Works Director's report. Kevin.
Mayor, board members, under the streets department, we have a new streets employee hired. A second new employee started today, making the department finally, streets department fully staffed at 4 full-time employees. The mill and overlay project was completed last Wednesday. I think it looks great. Got a lot of residents that agree with that too. I think they did a really good job. The asphalt has to cure for about 30 days minimum before road striping occurs, which is why on Liberty Lane you see the little yellow temporary reflectors. Those are taking the place of painting until we're able to do that. Elsewhere in the street department, the city is exploring options for renting a street sweeper this fall. The hitch is just getting here. Transportation is really expensive. If we miss that mark, then we might hit that in the spring. Under stormwater, Oakland Caspian Circle stormwater project is still on hold. We're in a holding pattern again for easement documents. Johnson and Henry Place storm structure was repaired. It was an orange barrel there for about a year. Sidewalks are the same. Now we're fully staffed. We can get back to sidewalk panels as time allows. From the park, damaged swing was repaired. Getting quotes for a damaged slide. And sanitary sewer department, a sewer department employee tendered his resignation. His last day will be September 5th. We're gonna post that right away. Plant expansion is going really well. On August 26th, we ran, starting at 3 a.m., they started running 12 concrete trucks for one of their bigger pours. There's no issues. And the disabled aeration blower stage was replaced at the plant at no cost to the city.
Can I do that one thing? I had a gentleman reach out to me today about a trampoline inside the detention basin over in
I'm aware of
Casper.
that one, yes. It's been there a while. We can have them move it, certainly. It's not their property. It is on city property. We can certainly do that. Was it I can get with you offline, but I just didn't know if it was a local resident?
Yeah, it's local.
Okay, we can send them a letter. There are violations like that. That one's pretty egregious. It's not like it's on the line. It's way out there, so.
And maybe a garden being planted in there?
Sorry, sir?
A garden?
Gardens happen. The trampoline's easy to move. That's an easy fix. It's, can send them a letter, certainly we'll have that, but I do know the residents you're talking about.
Okay, no problem.
This one.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to water supervisor report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, my report is in your packet. Just a few things I wanted to touch on. Kicking off tomorrow will be the water main extension on North Henry Clay. That's going to be going north about 1,800 feet. They're kicking that off tomorrow. We've put a post out letting the residents know that there will be construction in the area. Don't see any hiccups for the future, but we'll just have to see what what takes place whenever that occurs. The only other thing I wanted to really touch on was with the McClure Engineering. We have a meeting scheduled next week for the master plan. I think they really want to go over the GIS mapping. I think they're getting that really close, so that can be dialed in for what we have for our infrastructure. And then staff did also complete Palomino subdivision, and they will be moving to West Oaks for valve exercise programs.
Any questions for staff? Thanks, sir. Moving on to the Alderman. Alderman Dunwoody.
No report.
Alderman Raincraft.
No report.
Alderman Covert.
I just wanna say, like, I do think the streets ended up looking very nice. I was really worried about them being done in time for school, but they were done, and I think everything went well, and they look really good, so. I'm not sure if we helped in pushing that along, but I agree, it looks good.
Alderman Turner.
Well, either way, it looks good.
I think it's just, I think it's really important that people that are listening in or sitting here tonight realize that while it is fun to talk about the president and Congress, the local government is really, really important, and it affects your day-to-day life probably more than what Trump has to say or whoever. You know, there's gonna be another election in April. I just encourage people, if they feel like they can do a better job, by all means, I will help you fill out the paperwork. But I think these decisions are not taken lightly. It's not like we just come in here and free willy do whatever we want. But I just appreciate the gentleman that did come and talk. I know it's not easy getting in front of people and visiting like that. So looking forward to seeing what the city of Ashland looks like in 15 years.
Bill.
No report.
Alderman Lewis.
Only thing I wanted to ask about was, has there been any change in the TAP grant sidewalk project? Is there been any movement with MoDOT?
So TAP grant, we had 2 bids come back. I have submitted both those bids to be rejected by MoDOT. One bid was incomplete and was missing some substantial work. The other bid was about $250,000 high. So we're currently evaluating whether or not there's a desire to try and rebid that and get more favorable pricing, or what we can do with that project. So I'll have a more thorough report as we continue to work through that.
Any comments from the general public for the Alderman and staff? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Good evening, John Martin, Columbia, Missouri. On behalf of my office, I'm a state representative at District 44, John Martin. Thank you for your service. Good evening to everybody. In efforts to promote patriotism and thankfulness to our veterans that have served and those that are currently serving, I make it a habit to present new flags to our schools and to our municipalities. So I just want to present a new Missouri flag and a new American flag to the city of Ashland for you guys to use, whether in your boardroom or publicly. And so I presented to the Southern Boone schools back in June. Needed about 6 flags, I think it was 4 flags that they needed, and so we gave them to them and wanted to present to the city of Ashland. Thank you for your work, and God bless you when you leave these flags. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
That's great, thank you.
Leave them, just leave them right here.
Yep, that's fine.
Perfect.
Can I get a motion to vote to go to closed session?
We don't have anything.
We don't
for
need,
close.
we're good.
All right. cancel that.
Brenda's dinner's getting cold.
What? That time getting cold.
Can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.